So a lot of controversy for this chapter of the 7 Deadly Sins. There's actually a lot of people that are not too pleased with this chapter and are not too pleased with this Fraudrin fight because they're not liking that, one, the villains lately have been getting bodied pretty quickly and by low-level people. It's like in this chapter, it's only been a couple chapters since they started fighting Fraudrin, which we're still going to call him Fraud Boy. But at the end of the chapter, Dreyfus, which he's nowhere near what Fraudrin is, was able to blast the shit out of him and even hurt him in the chapter. So a lot of people are complaining about that, and they're just not feeling what's going on with 7 Deadly Sins right now. They're feeling as though the fights aren't what they were earlier on. And to a certain extent, I do agree as far as like when we had the Galan fight, when Bond was being chased down and shit like that, like it felt like a true danger. One of the elements that I feel as though is kind of been lacking in some of these fights lately is the amount of sense of danger that these people were just out of their league. Like Dreyfus alone, especially without the Fraudrin power, shouldn't be nowhere near to hurt Fraudrin. One of the things that I could come up with is that since Fraudrin was in Dreyfus's body so long, something there connected to the point where Dreyfus could hurt him. Maybe he's so used to him, maybe he found some sort of weakness in him, because a decade of rubbing elbows with a monster is a long time to get to know him and get to understand his weaknesses, his strengths, and things of that nature. Now, Hawk in this chapter, I ain't gonna lie, I did feel like a convenient plot device that he just came and puked rotten leftovers inside of Fraudrin's face. But to be honest with you, I feel as though the fact that Fraudrin's been built up that essentially he is a fraud, he's one of the weakest out of the 10 commandments, and ultimately you even seen in this fight that he really wasn't able to do too much, is almost as if the author is like, I know he's a scumbag, I know he's been a sniveling little shit, running away from fights and stuff like that, so I'm gonna humiliate him even more and have the pig throw up in his face. I think that's why Nakaba did that and had Hawk just puke in his face. Like, it felt a little convenient, I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time it was just like, you know, his eyes were burning a little bit, and that gave the opportunity for Zaratras to jump in back at him and hold him down. So I wouldn't say that that was a big issue. I mean, it did feel convenient, but ultimately it wasn't like Hawk one-shotted him and that was the end of Fraudrin. By the way, you could tell that Hendrickson, yet again, the guilt of everything he's done and all the blood on his hands is weighing heavy on his conscience. Like, he didn't want anything regarding Dreyfus dying or nothing like that. Like, you could see that it's still haunting him. Let's talk about Fraudrin's design real quick. It looked like, if you've ever seen the series Parasite, it kind of looked like a giant parasite, and it looked gross. Like, he's definitely one of the nastiest designs out of all the 10 commandments. Like, a couple of them, like Galan, kind of looked a little but nothing severely gross, and then Grey Road looked a little but like this motherfucker looked straight up nasty, like an overgrown parasite. And towards the end of the chapter, you can see one thing, that there was some sort of development as far as Fraudrin goes, and I mean, it's been hinted time and time again that he had grown attached to Dreyfus, and even in this chapter you see that to a certain degree he grew attached to Grier more, because basically he was exposed by Hendi boy saying, yo, you could have been left this motherfucker, you could have been dipped out of his body, you got your power back long time ago, you didn't need this. So it became a weakness in a sense why Dreyfus and Grier more affected him, and I think that's another reason potentially why Dreyfus was able to do anything to him, is that it caught him off guard, and at the end of the day he doesn't really have killing intent with Dreyfus because he got comfortable in that body, and he probably to a certain degree even grew attached to Grier more. And it's not that implausible, because if you think about it, Meliodas is a demon, and after a while he grew attached to people and stuff like that, so he was with them for 10 years, it probably grew on him. But honestly, next chapter, I really hope that Fraudrin isn't done for. I mean, yeah, he's a fraud, and he's definitely one of the weakest of the 10 commandments. Like, Estarossa will probably kill him with one pinky, but I definitely hope that he's still ready to fight and still has more to go, because I think ultimately Meliodas should be the one to put Fraudrin down for good. After their little history and stuff like that, I want to see Meliodas be the nail in the coffin. And a theory I have why a lot of the fights have seemingly been going a lot quicker than some of the previous ones, like with Galan and stuff like that, is I think maybe with the anime approaching, they're like, yo, we need this season 2 immediately, you got to start wrapping this up, you still got many commandments to go, and that's probably why these fights have been going a bit quicker opposed to what it was earlier on. And the last thing I want to mention is, people are bringing up, even though it's not that relevant to this chapter in particular, the fact that Bond was scarred by Meliodas, but he was destroyed and obliterated into pieces by Estarossa, but came back. It was like, how does that make sense? And the only thing I could think of regarding that little issue, even though again it's not that relevant to this chapter, is the fact that Meliodas' sword had something special with it, and Estarossa, as strong as he was, he still wasn't able to kill him. It's like, yeah, you can scar him, but I think his immortality is what kept him intact. Like, it's just that simple. Like, he's immortal. A sword has maybe something special to it, maybe it has some dragon scales, or maybe it's blessed by Meliodas' father. There's something there that gave him that scar, but ultimately, no matter how strong a normal attack is, it's just a normal attack, and he'll keep coming back from that. As small as he is, like, he was probably little tiny particles like Majin Buu, but he was still able to come back because it's just a normal attack. And with all that being said, honestly, it was still an okay chapter. Definitely could have been a lot better. Definitely had some convenient plot devices like Hawk puking inside of Fraudrin's eyes and stuff like that. It's like, what? And Fraudrin definitely should be putting up a way better fight against these low levels, because Fraudrin is like, what, 33, 34k power level, and Dreyfus is like a, what, 3 or 4k? Like, he should be annihilating them, so that's something that I'm kind of concerned about. I'm really hoping that it is explained that since he was with Dreyfus, he doesn't have killing intent, so he's a little bit weaker, or it could have something to do with his curse as well. And another quick trivia is, if Fraudrin is down, or if he dies in the next chapter too, doesn't that mean that his commandment will go back to its original owner? So we might see that evil Gowler soon enough. Let me know what you guys thought about the chapter though. How do you feel about the fight? Do you agree with the common thing going around right now, that these fights are going too quick and that Fraudrin is going down too easy? What do you think about Zaratras basically catching him off guard? And how did you feel about Hawk's involvement in this fight? Do you think it was too much of a convenient plot device, or you just like, whatever, it's Hawk, there's always a little comedy joke with him? And overall thoughts on the chapter. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.